not only does she talk It's 7 o'clock Wednesday night. It's getting ready for football, and you know what that means? I think it means fresh set of downs, doesn't it, Darryl?
I think so.
Darryl Daniel, Bruce Badgley, back here in our new home, 551 West here in downtown Lancaster, and there we are. I mean, pretty incredible, man.
We're back.
We're back. We're back on the road, man.
It feels good to be out, man.
It does. It does feel good to be out. And, look, we made it through last year. Obviously, there's been a few hiccups, early on.
Yeah.
These last couple days that I think have people concerned. But, boy, overall, we visited a lot of teams over not only the off season, but you're training a lot of these guys. What football is going to be like this year?
Everybody's ready to go because, last year there was no off season. There was no 7-on-7. There was no training. There was no extra training. So the guys this year, they've been able to do that. The coaches have been able to have the team together more. They've been able to have the 7-on-7 versus other teams, and they've been able to go to team camps and things of that nature. So, that's a lot more prepared. And now the format, which we'll talk about down the road for the District 3 playoffs, now that's going to be opened back up to the 16 teams or 8 teams or whatever it is in each district. And I think that's going to make for better football.
The only thing that I think is kind of hanging over us, and we're going to talk to Coach Ridnour about that. He touched on that in his interview.
Yeah.
I did an interview with Devin Johnson at Imhotep. These coaches, that's all first and foremost for them right now.
Right.
And even though the fans may not think so, I think that a lot of the teams and a lot of the coaches and a lot of the admitted, scrimmage on Saturday, there's still a lot of things that have to happen right for us to get this season in.
Right, and again, we'll touch on that during the season, but last year when it first hit, obviously it was a lot more serious and everybody was still trying to understand what was going on. So now, the teams that are able to stay more focused, the teams that are able to understand the bigger goal and to do what they need to do during the season, those are teams that can be successful. Same thing even in the NFL. If you're not able to play, you forfeit the game now.
Yeah, right.
So there's no, you get to make up the game. That game is forfeited.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, the senior leadership on each team is going to be huge. Obviously, the coach is going to be huge, but it's going to be big. The accountability piece is going to be big as far as being able to complete the whole season.
Yeah, it's look, fingers crossed here, but let's talk a little bit about our sponsors.
Right.
We're wearing one of our sponsors here, Brute Athletic. I mean, these things are sharp. Ball games this season. We can't thank them enough. Also, Brute Athletic is going to give out a Performer of the Week award with a nice, hoodie or T-shirt or whatever like that. And you know what, pal? You got to come up with the performance in District 3, just one over all the classifications.
Right.
But you said you're up for it, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. These guys have been working hard, and I think having the fans there, that's going to be huge this year.
Yeah, gosh, I remember broadcasting a game last year at Pottsville, Kerry Moyer and I, and we were the only two. It was us, the band, the coaches, and the cheerleaders, and that was it.
Yeah.
So we want to thank 551 West. Wow, what a great place this is.
Oh yeah, great food. Oh, the food is good too.
Yeah, the food is great, but they've got a great sky bar. They've got a really fantastic rooftop deck now,
which we will be out. At some point
correct. We will be out on the rooftop deck. I don't think that we want to do that in 100-degree zone with these long sleeve shirts.
That won't be good.
But you can count on us being outside on the deck a little bit, and we want to thank EasternPAFootball.com. For all their support, and get recruited.
Yeah.
I met Andrew Cohen in some camps this year. We're going to have schools and colleges and what have you. And it's tough work.
Yeah,
it's
it's definitely good, and it's really cool. I'm in contact with his brother, who's a defense coordinator at Wake Forest. So it's cool that I have him as a contact, and then now knowing him through Get Recruited has been really great relationship.
Yeah, it is, and all these guys are kind of doing all of my shows here. I do a show for the Whippio. I do one with District 1 and District 12. So I'm getting a real taste of Pennsylvania high school football this year.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But it's really been a very interesting off season and what have you. But the big thing, and we thank Penn Live. They come out with these preseason rankings. These things are very important to us because we don't really have any power rankings to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But we've got some state rankings to go through, and District 3 pretty well represented in 6A. Central York was number 4. And also Central Dauphin was a team to watch. I think Wilson was a team to watch. Yep. But obviously, there's a big smattering of District 7, District 12, and that. How do you think overall that District 3, when it's all said and done, is going to, filter out when it comes to, 6A and the overall state?
Well, again, I think we talked about it a little bit yesterday. District 3 does a great job of representing in the state in every 6 state championship game. So that says a lot about the brand of football we play in District 3. Be coming out for District 3 for 6A, but I think we will be very well represented, and I think we will be able to compete again for the state championship.
Yeah, and 5A. I mean, obviously Governor Mifflin's ranked number 2
right.
starting out, which, they have so much returning. And talking with the coaching staff a little bit Saturday, this has been kind of for Mifflin, this hasn't been like one-trick pony. This has been a crescendo that's been building year after year after year. Started with McVecchio, and now Jeff Lang has done such a terrific job over there, and that coaching staff. And, the culture around that, you're around that team a lot. Talk a little bit about the culture over there.
I mean, the coaches, and I was at practice last week, and I was told he gets me so riled up, man. Like, they're so excited. They love football. They love the kids. They're passionate about what they do. They have a great off-season program. The kids work hard. They lift hard. They have a bunch of young guys coming up that are going to really contribute to this team last year. They were very successful last year. Obviously, they had the Cam Stewart, the Strausers. They were very, very, very physical. A very physical team. And people are probably going to count those guys out this year, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that at all. I got the chance
Penn Live has given them a lot of love, having them number 2 behind Imhotep.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, a team that we can't sleep on. I mean, they're coming right out of the gates with a tough game, and that's excellent. Central York comes in there, but I really like their chances. Another District 3 team that was in the honorable mention. Manheim Central, you're pretty close to them as well. But, boy, 5A, what a minefield. Not only in District 3, but
the entire
across the
5A.
Yeah,
and his
shot in 4A, so what do? They move them up to 5A, and now they're running roughshod. I mean, Prep makes it all the way to, the championship game in their first year, in a run at it.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's going to be very interesting. That 5A, to me, is going to be loaded this year, and I'm interested to do the 6A, because now with Archbishop Wood moving up, a couple other teams moving up, that also going to be interesting, but obviously you have the monster out there, St. Joe's, who's going to be hard to take down.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about LaSalle and all those guys here in a couple of minutes, but let's talk a little bit about 4A. And Bishop McDevitt ranked number 2 in the state. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Coach Wechter, again, another good friend of mine. We've worked together. We've done camps and things like that together. Worked with guys from his team over the years. They're going to be ready to go this year. It's been 2 years, almost 3 years since they've been in the district championship game. They have, again, we'll get into the details of that. They have a great quarterback down there. They have an unbelievable running back. And again, one thing that Coach Wechter has always had, they've been loaded at wide receiver and DB. Their skill position is very good, and their offensive line has been very good. So they have a great team prep for this year. And again, they, with only 4 teams last year, they weren't able to make the district playoffs. But
that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. But they're going to be ready to go. District 3, the 4A bracket is going to be also loaded too. That's going to be a tough bracket.
Wow, right. Look at, they've got ranked Jersey Shore, who made it to the championship game and lost to Thomas Jefferson in probably, I think, the best game of the weekend last year. TJ, is number one, and rightfully so. I mean, they're coming back loaded. But boy, District 11 well represented with Bethlehem Catholic, also Pottsville. Glad to see the Pottsville in there, and but also look at here, District 3, Berks Catholic and Cocalico, 8-9. The Penn Lives got them with a lot of love so far. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, but you got to realize, in the last 6 or 7 district championships, how many was Berks Catholic in? So they made some adjustments. They moved some pieces around going into this season. I'm interested to see how they do this year. Very athletic.
Wow. Well,
very athletic.
I mean, I can't. Obviously, when you see these kids and you see that, and the way, quite honestly, that they're kind of putting the chess pieces out there the way they wanted it, putting, Hughes there at quarter or fullback. What was he playing before this? Like lineman?
Guard. He was a
guard. Okay. So they took I guess a tune from Why Missing when they moved Nadrowski from guard to fullback. Now Berks Catholic is moving their guard back to fullback, but he looked pretty good. He was at your camp. What did you think?
Yeah. Well, I've been working with Luke a little bit over 2 years now, so. I mean, it's crazy. When we first started, his 40 time was a little bit over 5 flat, 5:04. Now he's down to like a 4.71. He runs well. He has great change of direction. He plays good with great low pad level. I was able to watch the film of this past game, and we talked over a couple of things that I want to see him clean up or fix a little bit. Just because the guys know I'm very particular. But I think he is going to be a humongous X factor this year because, as you know, in an offense like that, if the fullback goes, that offense is going to be very successful. But if you can't get a fullback busting runs and it's going to be easy.
That's what they've got to respect the dive play.
Yeah, you got to respect anything down the middle, off center, off guard, in between the tackle. You got to be able to respect that. So if you get that going, and with the athleticism, with Caccione and all the speed they have there, I mean, it's going to be tough.
Let's not forget Lambert of Strasburg. I mean, we're going to talk to Coach Victor Ridenour here. At the end of the broadcast here, we did a recording with him. But LS, not one to sleep on. They're in the teams to watch.
Absolutely. And again, we talked about 2 years ago when they won their first district championship. They were down a Bishop McDevitt team, 20-0. They came back and won that game, and then they beat Berks Catholic on their field. In a very, very good game, back and forth game to win their second one, their first championship, and then last year beating Conrad Weiser in the district championship at home. So, I mean, they're going to be poised. They lost a lot of senior leadership, but they have a lot of young guys, like you said, which we'll talk about, on their team that have got a lot of playing time. So, again, another team that you can't really count out because of what they lost, but I think they're going to be very well coached. And they'll still be in the hunt, I think, at the end of the season.
Yeah, and in 3A, obviously Weil, they're ranked number 3. They just keep on, keeping on. They were so confident this offseason.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were ready to play. I mean, obviously they were well represented at your camp as well. But, those kids, they said, hey, all right, we had a great year, and they're after it, man. They just reloaded and they're ready for another run. What do you think?
And that's they got great leadership. You got a coach that's been there. He currently, he has a record for most wins in Berks County. Coach Wolfram is they're very structured and they're very disciplined and very detailed on what they do. So when you have that type of structure, especially nowadays in high school, and these kids understand there's a way of doing things. It's almost kind of like the New England Patriots, the way they do things over there, the way you have to dress, and it creates a mindset. And those guys, and they're interchangeable. They move pieces around, and they have guys that can put anywhere on that field that get things done. I mean, they're just, and again, it's another team where a lot of guys who might not have been starters last year are going to contribute. You got Drew, you got Charlie, you got obviously Aiden Mack, the quarterback Ben. I mean, people don't really know about these guys, but if you played against those guys on JV, you know a little bit about them. But those guys are going to step in, and they're going to be huge. And then you got 2 corners, one is 6'2", one is 6'3.5", that can run, and that is athletic. So they're going to be.
People are ready for. Everybody's ready for the show to begin, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you got guys. You got Jack. You got. I mean, just the loaded. You got, and then you got a little guy I call him Mighty Mouse. You know, Juju. He's one of those guys. He's a leader on the field. You know, people are like, oh, he's a smaller guy, but that guy, they put him at nose guard, and he can kind of control the tempo of the game. He's a great leader. He does a lot of good things. So I'm excited to see how they do this year too.
Well, you know, we talked a little bit, and let's not forget Steel High, defending 1A champions. We don't really have a big presence in 2A and 1A, other than the defending state champion in 1A. I mean, and that run that they made was so special. I mean, they were the cardiac kids, and to go in and then play, the championship game that they played, and really, dominating that game, and they broke out in front and never looked back. So, great job by Coach Irby and the Irby family.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the family is the big key for that team, and obviously starting with his son at quarterback. It just impressive to see that. Like, a lot of times, that's a lot of pressure when, as a father, and you have your sons that also play on that team. But those guys, it seems like they're balanced. That they love that pressure.
Oh yeah.
So, and they as the season went on, as a freshman, he just continued to grow and become a leader more and more and more. And he made a lot of throws in crucial times. Yeah,
those conversations that I've had with Coach Irby and the family that are on the sidelines, man, and especially there's nothing better than to have those conversations with these guys on the field at Hershey.
Yeah.
Because you see these guys and you see them and all the work that they do in the off season, and then to finally have them standing out on that field, in Hershey, it's something special for me, because I personally know how much sacrifice not only the teams and the coaches, but the families and the communities to get those teams there.
Right.
I think that's obviously really what we like about this game. So let's talk a little bit about some of the teams that aren't ranked that you think we need to keep an eye on here in District 3.
It just
basically everybody.
Yeah, but it just So I think a team that you got to keep an eye on is Comrade Weiser. Right. I was fortunate to be able to spend some time training Logan Klitsch this summer, but that we're at the game when the district championship against Lampeter Strasburg. Being down 35-0, and just to sit there and watch this guy just do whatever. That mentality we always talk about. Even in training, I always talk about leaving nothing to doubt, and just letting it all hang out. He literally said, I'm going to die on this field. If that's how it goes, so be it. So he left everything out there on the field, and just to see him perform, and I think that's a good team. That's a team that's going to still be in the hunt, especially in that loaded 4A bracket. We have, I think Daniel Boone is a team that's starting to make the turn, come around the corner a little bit. My sleeper team is going to be Hamburg. They had
Aaron Menapace son.
It's Menapace, his son.
Aaron Menapace is the AD there.
They had a scrimmage versus Tamaqua, who played beat YO 2 years ago in the state's quarterfinal game.
They're 4A, right?
Yeah.
They're 4A.
So they're very, very physical. They have two running backs that are unbelievable. They have a receiver, McFarland Jr., who is very good, and then of course they have a quarterback that can make the throw. So, with a team like that, it comes down to, injuries and things of that nature. So, I think they're going to be a very good sleeper team that people got to look out for. Because again, if you go in there taking them lightly, I think they're going to beat people. A lot of people that you're not expecting them to beat.
Yeah. Any other teams like in 6A that you would want to keep your eye on?
We'll talk about some of those guys here. Obviously, Central Dolphins is always in the mix. Manhattan Township is always in the mix. Hempfield's another team.
I totally agree. Yeah. I like them a lot. Yeah. I think that I'll be honest with you. For me, I think it's more the rising up of a lot of teams that have kind of been down, a little bit. In the LL, maybe Penn Manor. Yeah. They've got some size on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Might kind of rise up to go after the traditional powers. Warwick had such a great run for so many with all those guys. It's going to be interesting to see, how Section, 2 plays out. But I think in the Mid-Penn, I think that you're going to see a lot more parity this year.
Oh, yeah.
I think that, back to the olden days, not so far ago, where, Cumberland Valley's coming back. Look out for CD East.
That's the first thing I want to say is Cumberland Valley, because historically we know what that program has been, and they have been down a couple years. They made a change. They went from the traditional wing tee to a more open set. So like they just kind of find the pieces to fit what the new coach is trying to do over there. And I think that's what's kind of been kind of slow, because they have built a certain type of offense and a certain type of culture there. So now they're trying to change that culture. And it's just sometimes when you do it, it takes a little bit of time.
And I think a team that's kind of on a mission this year is Gettysburg. I mean, this is their last year in the York Adams. They move over to the Mid-Penn next year. I think they're trying to do a send-off, talking a little bit about, the York Adams. Hey, the 6A champion finally came from the York Adams, last year with, Central York.
And we've been talking about that for years. York football, being able to get over that hump and start to get a little bit more respect.
I do. I think it's going to get, a lot more respect.
And out the gate, we're going to be able to see where York's football is, and see if those guys can continue that trend that they're on right now. Because right now, York football is trending up.
Absolutely. I mean, but hey, right off the bat, we'll talk about some of that, but I do. I believe that there's going to be a lot of teams that I think the overriding theme this year in District 3 is going to be, these teams that haven't been traditional powers or have been down for a bit. I think that they're going to start to rise up. And I think there's going to be a lot more parity, not only in 6A, but 5A, 4A, is a total minefield. It's just a total minefield.
Right. All the way, but all the way through, whether you go to district play or state play, I think that whole field is going to be a lot of really good games. Even when you get to that district playoff, sometimes you get to play the first 2 rounds, it might be a blowout or two, but I think all the way through, every single game, you're going to have to come to play every single week.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we're going to have a brief message here from Andrew Cohen and Get Recruited Consulting, and then we're going to come back and talk about our games of the week. What do you think?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
But it was, at the end, she was like, oh my God, that was so glad I did it. Like, I can do more than I think I can. I'm never doing that again.
Swelling up.
So, yeah, I thought I told my mom, but... It was fun.
Oh, well, looks like our tape there didn't really want to go. I'm trying to figure that out here right now, but oh well. That's life in the Big Ten, right, Chief? We'll get that announcement with Andrew. We're going to try and have an announcement from Andrew every single week. But he's done such a great job with all of the kids in the camps. He had 2 camps in the district, one camp there in the district last year, and saw firsthand. We both have. What a great job that he's doing, and so. GetRecruitedConsulting.com. Andrew Cohen, and always says, just pick up the phone and give him a call. You can go to his website and get all of his contact information. But I would definitely look up Andrew for such a great job that he's doing with those kids. Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the games of the week. We've got the first one out of the blocks that we want to talk about. Central York at Exeter.
Right. So Coach Jerry, we go back a while. I've been working with him. I've known him very well. Obviously he was at Lebanon before going to Central York. A lot of his top players. He has Bo Perbula, which everyone knows about. A very good athlete. He can make all the plays. He can make the throws. Trayshawn Smith. They have a great O-line. Their skill positions, and as we know, they were state runner-up last year. With Coach Bauer, I think this may be the year that I mean, they've been through this championship a couple years ago, but they're really loaded, and I'm interested to see how they do. They got obviously J.R. Strauss to commit to Villanova, a young man I've been fortunate to work with a couple years. Colin Payne at quarterback, he's going to be a first-year starter, but that's one of those guys. People think, well, he's a first-year starter, but he can read defenses. He can make all the throws. He's a baseball player. He has a great arm, and then of course we got Joey Schlafer, the 6'6" wide receiver.
I mean, who doesn't want him?
Yeah, I mean, very true, because he can do at that size and his skill level. We were able to get his 40 time down even faster. So he's very confident. He's good. He does a great job of tracking the ball. A lot of times with young guys, sometimes they mistime the ball when they go to jump. He doesn't do that at all. He's a great job there. But I think the key for Exeter is going to be some of the new starters they have coming up. Phil Garrison's going to be a guy. Andrew Miller is going to be a big-time contributor. Carson Smith, Eric Nangle, Richie Carson, a nice size, a big O-line, D lineman for them. And I think a young man that could be an X factor for him is a young guy named Jacob Wolf. Last scrimmage he had 3 touchdowns, made a lot of big plays, very athletic. So I think that matchup on paper looks very good. I think defensively, Exeter has the guys that can be able to run with and stay with the speed for Central York. But it's just a matter of, are they going to be able to get pressure on ball? And when they do, and he starts running, are they going to be able to contain him? I think that's what's going to, but it ultimately will come down to.
So who do you favor in that matchup?
I mean, it's tough.
Well, I know it's tough. You're gonna have to make some tough decisions this year, okay?
I think
picking performances.
Right. I think I honestly feel like Exeter is at the point where they're ready to take that next step, and I'd be interested to see again. If they come out the gate and get this win. Obviously, we know what their schedule looks like the rest of the year, but I'd like to see those guys be able to get it done this week.
I like Exeter as well. I do. I think that's a sleeper team. They play smash mouth football too. They got some big boys on that line. Central York though. I mean, still a lot of good talent there. Bo Pabula. I mean, lost some guys. I know they lost a running back, but they just refueled. I mean, and plus they're deep. They have a lot of kids. It's not too often you'll see 70, 80. Kids on the team, and they're very deep. So I think that's going to be a very good game. That's the game I'll be at this Friday. So I'll be interested to see how that turns out. Yeah, I am too. All right, another Berks York Adams matchup has Governor Mifflin going up against a pretty high-powered York High team. What do you think about that one?
High-powered is an understatement. I mean, athletes all over the field. So obviously, Coach Lang is someone I've worked with the last couple of years. Very familiar with their program. Everyone knows about Nick Singleton. The fact that he off of 1 or 2 steps, he's already through the line of scrimmage. That is going to help a lot. Especially they got a lot of new guys on the offensive line. But one thing they will be is tough. They're going to be tough. They're going to be physical. My X factor, I think, for those guys is going to be Trey Rock, just like Strouser was last year.
Yeah. That dive play up the middle. I mean.
And I was at practice last week, and I didn't realize he was as big as he was. Great size.
He's a senior. I mean, he's experienced. Mm-hmm. So, but they've got a lot of role players there on Governor Mifflin too. It isn't just Nick Singleton.
No, you got Aiden Martin, you got Eden Johnson, and Cameron Stewart, like Braylon. I saw him obviously last week at practice, and in a couple years he has grown. He might be 6'3.5" already. A tremendous athleticism. They got Greg Suber there. They have a lot of young athletes there, so they're very, very skilled. And again, as the season goes on and that offensive line, that D line gets better, they got a lot of young guys there. I mean, but again, when you have somebody like a Nick Singleton, you have Aiden Martin, you have Trey Rock. Sometimes that helps, and then they got 2 guys at quarterback that are very athletic. So, that sometimes cancel out. Sometimes the youth at that position as being the offensive line. And obviously at York, you got Coach Russ Stoner, who's been doing a great job there year after year after
year. Son's
a quarterback. They got a D1 running back now. I mean, they have a really good offensive line, and as we've known over the years, one thing York has always been able to do is run the football. And then year after year after year after year, not all the knowledge Timmons, they have run.
There was a lot of fear in Governor Mifflin's coaching staff's eyes when I started asking him questions about York High. I mean, so obviously, that's a good football team over there.
Right.
And so, and a lot of these teams here are coming out of the blocks and playing a really tough opponent. Okay, most of these games we're going to talk about playing tough opponent.
That's really good.
So you're in favor of that? That you go on and you strap them on and you play all comers and you play the best game. You don't want to ease in. You just want to go and just knock heads with the toughest team you want. Why?
Right. Because again, like when we get to Harrisburg, we talk about Coach Cal. Like they fear nobody. They're ready to go. They'll put whoever on their schedule, as you'll see with the game they have coming up. But like to me, I want to know out the gate what do I have. What are we dealing with team-wise, player-wise, coming out of the gate? Like, so all the conditioning, all the training we've done all the summer, I want to know right out the gate. So when you're fresh, you're ready to go. There's no excuses. So you got to be ready to go week 1. There's not like, okay, we got to ramp ourselves up by week 5. We're going to be playing X, Y, and Z's team. You got to come out the gate ready to go.
Yeah. All right. I like that. I mean, most everybody that I've talked to, you, Devin Johnson, I mean, all favored really playing a really difficult opponent. And that. So the next game, I mean, you touched on it a little bit. Harrisburg heading west, playing Pine Richland, kind of a reloading Pine Richland from what it looks like.
Yeah. And, Coach Campos is out there now. It's going to be interesting to see, again, because obviously we haven't been able to be out there, to see how the team gels after what happened this summer. What Caspero was like. That's a very tough situation to go through. There's a time where the kids were talking about, leaving and going to other schools or not playing at all. So I would be very interested to see how this game goes after the summer they just had, like mentally, emotionally, because again, that's a lot. You losing your coach. The guys won numerous state championships. He's turned that program around. They won him at 5A and 6A. So like he's been able to get done. So now he's, Coach Campos has big shoes to fill. But and then not only do you have big shoes to fill, you're going against a Harrisburg team that every single year will be ready to go. Yeah. Especially after last year. I don't think Coach Cal probably has to say much.
Coach Cal always tells me, cries the blues to me. I see him at the Big 33. Oh my God, he's crying the blues about his team. And then he goes out and he just like runs roughshod over everything.
Oh yeah, because they know they're going to be ready to go. When they strapped up, especially after last year, after what they went through to get to the district and then not being able to play, those kids know. So, in my opinion, he shouldn't have to say too much to that team because, like, listen, we didn't have the opportunity that we should have had last year. Don't be the guy that messed us up.
Don't be the guy, right?
Don't be the guy.
Yeah.
It's really simple.
And the thing that I talked about, and I do a WPIAL show as well, and one of the things I talked about on that show, and I'm going to say it here as well, is I think that if Pine Richland gets on a winning streak, everything's forgotten.
Right.
But if they start coming out of the blocks and stub their toe or come out 1-2 or 2-2 or 2-3, okay?
Or 1-4
Right. That's what I think that's the biggest fear. I think that's when, so what's going to happen? I mean, the community was so much behind, Coach Kasparowicz.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? I mean, are they going to rally behind the troops, or are they going to start, tearing things apart and, from maybe 2? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's just say I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I think that
for the kids' sake.
For the kids' sake, oh my God, for the program's sake. I mean, you hate for situations like that to turn into a massive soap opera. Right. But unfortunately, that's what it did.
Yeah.
When the coach got let go. Something near and dear to our heart here in District 3, LaSalle College is playing at Bishop McDevitt.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, I mean, they're man, they're coming out of the gate playing a 6A school. So, but again, like we just said, you're going to find out immediately what you have because we know LaSalle's going to be loaded. And LaSalle's, they play in a tough division already. I mean, they have great talent every year. they're battle tested every year. They play in a tough league. But Coach Wechter, like I was saying earlier in the show.
I mean, when they played DeMatha a couple years ago, I was at that game. I mean, they take on all comers too.
Yeah, they are. So, but I mean, again, like I think Bishop McTevitt, they have a team that they've had a couple years ago. So they're back to that where they have an unbelievable running back. They have a great quarterback that can make all the throws. They're loaded at receiver. They're loaded at the skill position. They got a good offensive line. So I think after being out of that district championship for the last going on 2 or 3 years, I think they're primed to get back to that game. Obviously, a lot of things have to happen. You got to stay healthy. But that's going to be a very, very interesting game out the gate to kind of see because, LaSalle, they're a team that also can be physical. They came down to Township last year and they were very physical.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's going to be a good test.
I think that's good. First off, I think it's great that the District 3 teams are scheduling guys like the Philadelphia Catholic or the opponents.
Right.
Look, they're going to have to play them anyway. Right, the best teams,
yeah.
not just anybody.
Right.
I mean, LaSalle. I mean, what the heck would it be like to have St. Joe Prep a Harrisburg game or something like that?
I'm sure they wanted it, but I mean, but again, like then there's some thought process that has to probably go into it because you're like, at the end of the day, we're playing at the end of the road. But I mean, there's a lot of things because again, Coatesville did it with Coatesville and Harrisburg did it a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. They played in the regular season and then played again in that the district was the championship game. So anything can happen. But again, like the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 games we started about, every single team. They're not playing any slouch. Everybody's coming out of the game playing ranked teams.
It's just like a heavyweight battle, and it isn't any different with Central Dauphin and Wilson. I mean, so what, Central Dauphin, I mean, I don't know, was last year's season a disappointment for them?
Absolutely. I mean, they have to because I think they went in and I know they do. As everyone assumed, they doubted
because what? Because they made it, to the state championship game.
Right. And pretty much everybody came back, and they were loaded. And that Central York team came and they were just too much speed on that field. So like, I mean, they probably had to lick their wounds a little bit and sit back and kind of make some adjustments. But I mean, we already know Central Dauphin and Wilson. We already know what that game's going to look like. It's going to be a slobber knocker affair. I mean, they're going to be physical. Wilson has the 2 running backs there. You got Gavin and you got Jay.
Brad Hoffman at quarterback.
Brad Hoffman,
who is? I mean, he's a seasoned guy. Not seasoned at Wilson,
right?
But that kid, he's what we talk about all the time. That's very important here is experience at quarterback. Well, he's got experience at quarterback, just not at Wilson.
Correct.
But that's an experienced guy. Making things happen there.
And he can make throws. He can make all the throws.
And I think that's big for Wilson. I really do. I mean, they've not that who they. Maybe not the confidence level, behind center that they have this year, right out the gates with Brad Hoffman. What do you think?
And again, he has athletes all around. TJ Flight, I think he's going to have a monster year this year. Then you have Sean Dindal, outside like a 6'4" wide receiver, another young man I've been fortunate to work with a couple years. He's making a lot of plays. Against Coatesville, he had a one-handed touchdown. So like then. I mean, on defense, they're led by, John Ramsey, that middle linebacker. So, Coach Donald, as we know, his calling card has been defense. So I think defensively, they're going to be back to where they were also. So I think that's going to be a pretty interesting game to see because it's going to be a very, very physical game. And again, it's a great test out of the gate. It's going to show a lot of implications for down the road for district play.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of switching gears a little bit. I felt that the theme this year was going to be, some teams, rising up. And I think that 2 teams that are kind of poised to do that are playing. I mean, Conestoga Valley and Penn Manor.
Right.
I think that, for both of these teams, I think that this could be, a game that the winner is probably looking down to people and the loser might be looking up at their league. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Conestoga Valley had a great year last year, and I'm sure they're looking to build on. They have some skill guys, Aiden Johnson. They have a good quarterback over there. So they're making that turn because, going 6-2 last year, they had a big win against Manhattan Central, obviously the rival there. So it'd be interesting to see if they're going to be able to build off of what they did last year.
Right.
So again, because they were fortunate, they had a great schedule, they had a favorable schedule. So this year it'd be interesting to see because I think that this team can also make the district playoffs. But like you said, if they lose that game or they lose a game they shouldn't, they could be looking up, and then from there it's going to be a climb because that Section 1 is tough. It's going to be a climb to get through. So, but I just think, they're in Section 2. I'm sorry, Section 2. But they got to get on that roll, and I think if they get on a roll because of what they're able to do athletically, I think that's going to be big for that team.
And I think it's big for Penn Manor too.
Absolutely.
I mean, on the flip side there, there's a little bit of I think that there's a little bit of a window open to kind of get up in there and get into the playoffs. So this game is going to be a huge barometer, I think, on which way these teams are going to go this season. And Weiser at Cocalico.
Yeah, again, out the gate. So obviously there's a changing of the guard at Cocalico with the new coach over there. They're still same offense though. They're still same scheme. They have a great offensive lineman who just committed to South Carolina. So his dad, who was actually at Wilson a couple years back when I was helping out at Wilson. So they're going to be physical. They're going to be tough. But again, I think Conrad Weiser's athleticism. Like I talked about with Logan. I think that's what's going to be the game changer, kind of like I think he's a special player, and
a third-year starter, really maturing as a signal call.
Right, and so I see that kind of being like that the game that Cocalico had in a state semifinal game. What was that? 2 years ago. So if Cocalico can stop the run, and then he can make plays with his arms and his feet and get those receivers open, I think that is going to be a very, very good game. But they got to be able to stop the veer because everybody knows what Cocalico was running, but the thing you still got to stop it. So that I think if they can stop the run defensively, those guys step up. I think for Cocalico, the defense this year is going to be the thing that wins them games. So if they step up defensively, I think it's going to be a great season for them.
Yeah, and it's like I said, neither one of these teams backing down. I mean, Coach Moyer and Conrad Weiser, I mean, they're really poised. I mean, they've been kind of building to this over the last 2 or 3 years. It's going to be really interesting. And obviously, Lampeter to Strasburg at Warwick, really two teams in the midst of a rebuilding process.
Absolutely. And so, I think with the major losses that Warwick had, I mean, they had a quarterback, another 3-year starter. They had skill position. They obviously had Rucci. They had a great offensive line. But Warwick is another team where they always have numbers. So they're always going to be tough. So it'll be interesting to see where they're at compared to and how big of a drop they're going to have, if it is a drop at all. Or are they going to continue? Again, obviously they're not going to be at the level they were because of the elite type of players they had. So, but I mean, same thing. Lampeter to Strasburg. A lot of those guys that they have on the team that were not starters last year, they're on the team this year. They got a lot of playing time. So, again, you have great leadership. You have Bo, you have Nick, you have Berkeley over there at quarterback. Another young man I think that's going to be X factor is Gio, who looked very good in the scrimmage. You have a lot of young guys on that team and a lot of first-time starters that are going to be seniors that I think are going to be factors that they're going to really have to step up this year. So, and then of course, Coach Rittenauer's, his first year as a head coach. But again, I think they have a great system. He's made some adjustments on offense, made a couple of changes or whatever. But I think, that team is going to be interesting. Sometimes when you're a first-time starter, when you know that pressure's on you, it changes a lot of things. So all these guys got to do is take a deep breath and just go out there at the end of the day and just play football.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, But anyway, so that does it for our games. You know, look, we've run kind of long here tonight on our first show. I think what we'll do is we'll just release our interview with Coach Rittenauer, you know, separately or whatever like that, rather than to kind of, you know, drag it out here at the end. We'll just release that out, you know, separately. You know, it was great. You know, for me, meeting Coach, you've known him, you know, for quite a while. Very special guy, very special program. Very interesting to talk to the guy who's following the legend, you know, and it's pretty clear to me that guy's ready to fill those shoes. I mean, you know, it sounded like there were, you know, a great plan by Coach Mannion transitioning over to Coach Rittenauer. And so I think what we'll do is we'll just release that interview separately and, you know, rather than kind of, you know, put it on the end here. But, wow, that's it for, like, our first show, man. What do you think? What do you think of the new format?
I love it. I love it. Again, I'm just glad that we can be able to kind of get back to some normalcy and being able to get back to the games, get back on the sidelines. And I think that's big, especially for me, because with the number of guys that I have, almost about 65, 70 kids that I work with, mostly football players, being on the sidelines, being at the games, being able to talk to those guys and being able to, you know, just kind of be that comfort level, so to speak. You know, I'm just excited about being able to do that, you know, and it's starting obviously this Friday with Exeter and Central York. So I'm just excited. You know, the guys put in a lot of work this summer. I'm just excited to see how they do when they get out there on the field.
Yeah, you know, first off, I want to thank, you know, obviously the supporters of this program, 551 West.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, they're doing a great job with us here all year round, or all year long. We're going to be, you know, here, outside, all around this place. I mean, you know, there's a lot of great places. So we'll be kind of spinning around here. Get Recruited Consulting, Andrew Cohen. We can't thank him enough for his support. We can't thank our buddies here for all the swag here. Booth Athletic Apparel.
So they can't see the background. They have a football player on here. That's really cool. And then they have the Brood on the back. You know, so
pretty cool stuff on our name. I guess people will have to see us, you know, on the sidelines with this stuff. I got our names on the back there. That's pretty cool. And EasternPAFootball.com. I mean, Dave, Micah, and the gang there for supporting us. We can't thank, you know, Dave enough for all his support on everything here. But remember, too, we're trying to raise money for the Peyton Walker Foundation, okay? We're trying to, you know, they do so much with sudden cardiac arrest and with, you know, all of the defibrillators that they're, you know, providing to organizations at athletic events. I mean, it's, I guess, the biggest killer of, like, young athletes is the sudden, you know, cardiac arrest.
That we take it for granted. So
we do. We take it for granted. So don't forget, you can give, you know, each week. We'll have the donation item out there for you. Hey, you know what? We're asking for $5. Give $5 here, $5 there. It means a lot if you're going to save a life. So Peyton Walker Foundation, really good. We're trying to collect money for charity. And then, you know, we're going to have fun doing the show here all year round, or all season long. All year round, all season long. Well, maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll
doing all the sports.
Maybe we'll have to be doing like an off-season version. Well, listen, it's great to have you back, man. I mean, it is great to be back. All right, for Darryl Daniel, I'm Bruce Badgley. That does it for the first edition